Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host, Scotty McCoy, and boy, do I have a surprise for you. I have on Zoom with me right now Lizzy Small, and she played Carly in 12 Pups of Christmas, and she is also a singer who has a single coming up. Hi, Lizzy, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to have you here. I'm so glad that your publicist was able to make this happen. So, the first question I got for you is how did you get your start into acting? And also, what about singing?
Yeah, so I grew up dancing. That was kind of what started everything. I was in dance class 24/7 as a kid, and I just like loved music. I loved performing. I loved interacting with other people and like being around other kids who were creative. So that's kind of how it all began. And in terms of acting, I ended up there was like an open casting call at my dance studio for some VH1 pilot. Like I had no idea what it meant, what it was. I just saw this flyer and I was like, Mom, you have to let me audition. So I did. And I just like had to dance for them. And they asked me some questions. And I told them I liked Missy Elliott. I was like 7. I don't even know what I was saying. But I ended up booking that. And like from there, just the experience of being on set, I was like, this is so amazing, so much fun, so invigorating. And I just like loved how everyone came together to create like a final product.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I started. And then I like auditioned for my first TV series as a kid, and I was on this
Awesome.
ridiculous show that ended up going viral in quarantine called Hip Hop Harry. And now
Nice.
it's like all over TikTok and Twitter. But yeah, that was one of the best times
Awesome.
of life just because it was so carefree and fun, and I didn't care what anyone thought about me. I was just like enjoying myself.
Awesome. That's really cool. So, obviously, you have a single coming out. What is it called, and can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so it's called Like It Should. I produced it and wrote it with my best friend, who also is like my music partner. His name is
Nice.
Sohrab Akavan. And it's a funny story because we actually had known each other since like elementary or middle school and hadn't spoken for years, just, life. And then I reached out to him like a year or two ago, sorry, like 2 years ago now, on Instagram because I saw a piece of music he made and I was like, I really like what you're doing. Like, I don't know if you remember me from like 10 years ago in middle school, but like we should write music together. And literally since then, we've just become such good friends, reconnected, and we've been working on this stuff together. So we created Like It Should during quarantine. He actually sent me the beat idea. And I was like in my bedroom at home while we were like quarantining, couldn't see anyone, the world was shut down. And I heard it and I was like, I just love this. And I immediately started writing to it. And then finally, when we were able to like get tested and like be in person and work
Yeah.
together, it was just like us two in his bedroom studio, like writing and finishing this song.
Awesome.
That honestly just like really naturally came as a result of being stuck in lockdown in COVID. And I was like, this is just like a feeling of a moment in time, like just felt right. And so we just, yeah, we created it during COVID-19.
Awesome. I mean, the pandemic has affected a lot of people, but I mean, in bad ways, but also in good ways. And this
Yeah.
is one good thing that obviously came from COVID is that you were able to, write this and get it, get it out there. It's coming out soon. We'll get into that. So what inspiration did you use to write and make the songs for the single come to life?
Yeah, I say that Like It Should is kind of this idea of falling into the world of what something could be, but the reality isn't actually that. So it kind of like plays into this idea of what something could be in somebody else's eyes and um, opposite of you, the person who wants this to be the reality, and you're like falling into that world and kind of living in there and enjoying it. But the reality of the situation is that isn't what's really happening, and that isn't really maybe how you see it. So it kind of like plays with that idea. And it's just like getting lost in this like feeling in this world that whether or not it's reality, it's like fun while you're in it.
That's awesome. So obviously you stated that you wrote the song for with your friend. So what is the process for you personally on writing your own music?
Yeah. Honestly, there isn't like one set process, but I would say for me, I usually get inspired from like hearing a beat or like a simple idea could literally be like two chords of a guitar, and just like listening to that, and it will like elicit some sort of feeling or spark like a personal situation I'm currently going through at that moment and like lead me to just start writing. So for me, I usually like to start with like the music and then write like the melodies, which then leads to the lyrics.
Right.
But everyone does it differently, and sometimes I'll just like think of lyrics randomly and like write them down in my journal. But in this case, I heard the song or a little tiny snippet of what the song could be, and I just kind of like ran with that idea and like fit my melodies and my lyrics into that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what made you want to get into singing? Like, was it acting first? Was it singing first? And like, what makes it each one different from the other?
Yeah, I would say what really led me to singing were two things. So, like I mentioned earlier, dancing, since was such a huge part of my life, from a really young age, I listened to so much music in dance class. And the way that you listen to music in dance class is different than just listening to it, like when you're driving in the car. It's you're really understanding the music and like basically connecting what you hear in your ears and putting that into your body and hearing it so repetitively. Like you get to know a song so well, you get to know every sound that's in it, every lyric, every pause. And that like idea just like was so fascinating to me, and I think it really helped inform like my understanding of dance, because you really have to understand music in order to like be a great dancer and like be one with the music, for lack of a better term. So I think that, and then as well as my dad plays guitar and piano and sings, and so does my sister. They're both very talented and amazing. And so just being in a household where that was around at times, my dad is a businessman, but he would come home and like late at night be like playing a beautiful like Ave Maria on the piano, and I would just like hear him and start singing with him. Or my sister and I would like harmonize in the car, like on the way to
Right.
you know like family brunch or something. So it was just kind of like around me, and my family really appreciates music, and I think that also led to like me being exposed to these wonderful artists at a young age, like Whitney Houston and
Right.
like Alicia Keys, and these like really talented, amazing artists.
That's great. So what makes like being a musician, like I guess the difference for you, what makes you makes it being a musician different from doing an acting role? Like how do you like
Yeah.
and how are can they be similar?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say they both take vulnerability, and it's very scary to put yourself out there in an emotional sense in both ways. I think they both have a very big emotional component. I would say with acting, it can be different because you're using someone else's words most of the time, right? And you're using someone else's story. So you're kind of like, um, falling into that script and like using part of who you are to inform that. Whereas with music, it's more, well, this is just like directly from me. And it can be sometimes scarier at times just because it's like a full representation of, well, I wrote this and this is like about my life and what I'm going through right now. And I'm just putting it out there. So it's a really vulnerable thing. And I think they're both super vulnerable. But for me, music is like 100% just me. And that's what you get, And so yeah, scary
Absolutely.
but
And
fun.
that's the thing, when like even with Kelly Clarkson, for example, that once, was it called Piece by Piece? Was it called? Like
Mm,
about her life and about her father, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
putting your life out there, it really takes a toll emotionally on your body and like on
100%.
your spirit and all that. So I mean, it's something that not a lot of people would like to, put their personal life out there for, millions of people to listen to. And it's
Yeah.
something that really takes a lot of courage to do because not everybody is all out there like that. So it's really
Yeah.
cool that you do that.
Thank you.
So what is the best part about being a musician and what is the worst?
I would say for me, one of the best parts is just working with other people who are so creative and inspiring and who have these ideas that I could never even think of. Like when I'm sitting in a room, even with Saurabh, who I work with all the time, I'll bring an idea to him and be like, oh, this is how I hear it or something. And he'll have a completely opposite or like different idea that he'll be like, oh, I think we should add this in. And just like that experience of really like feeding off someone else is so cool. And I love being in the studio. Like for me, that's one of my favorite places because it's just so like intimate and uncensored, and you're not worried about like sounding perfect every time. It's kind of
Right.
like a experimentation, and so it's fun. So I love that. And then sorry, what was the other part of the
The
question?
worst. What would be the
Oh
worst
yeah,
part?
the worst. Okay. Um, I would say it's a double-edged sword, but I would say the emotional component, vulnerability that it like takes to do this kind of stuff. It's on one hand, it's awesome because I think it really pushes you as a person to open yourself up and grow and like face your insecurities and face things that many people probably never really think about, but you're kind of forced to. For me, like releasing my music is a way for me to be like, I know people are always going to like have an opinion, good or bad, about me, always have something to say, but I'm doing this for me. And like once I release it out into the world, it doesn't really belong to me anymore. And instead of like letting other people dictate what I do, I'm just going to do what is right for me and like what fulfills me, and like not try to control how everybody views it. Cause that's not the point. So I think for me, it's been like a battle of like, okay, I want to be emotional and vulnerable and share who I really am. But it's really scary, and like judgment happens in social media, and people are rude, and like there's a component of that to it. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to remember like a lot of people are just scared to put themselves out there. So like if you're willing to do it, just go for it.
Absolutely. So, do you play any instruments, and if so, what are they?
Yeah, I play piano, which you can see my little keyboard behind me in my room. It's not as nice as my baby grand at my parents' house, or
Mhm.
at my parents' house. But then I also play ukulele, which I started to play a lot during quarantine, and that was fun.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, is there any instruments that you would like to learn how to play that you don't know how yet?
I would love to get a lot better on the guitar because I'm not great at it, and my fingers have not yet meld to the guitar tactics. But
Right.
so yeah, I really want to get better at guitar. That would be amazing. And one day I would love to also learn violin. I have violin in my first song, and it's so beautiful. Shout out to Camille Miller, who like played violin on Like It Should. It's
Nice.
my favorite part of the song. And I don't like, it's a whole nother instrument, and I would love to pick it up one day.
Nice. My cousin plays the French horn, and she plays like
Oh
a bunch
wow.
of ones as well. She was actually in school at Westchester University
Okay.
for music education, and she's been in band like her whole life, like since like high school, maybe
Wow.
elementary. I used to play the trumpet, but
Really?
I didn't stick with it. I don't know. Like I think it was because like in order to get better, you had to practice, and as a kid, you don't want to get told you had to practice. You know what I mean? Unless it's something you really wanted to do. Like my childhood was video games and watching professional wrestling, and
Totally.
sometimes like practice would like interfere with that, and I was like, I want to play my wrestling game. I want to do this. I want to do that.
I
Like,
understand. Honestly, like practice is everything. And it's sometimes on some days, no matter how much you love something, you're just like, I don't want to do this today.
absolutely. Absolutely. The same, even like doing my videos, like not really my interviews. I love doing my interviews because interviewing like amazing, talented people like yourself and other celebrities that I interview is really fun. And I love that. But like making like some of my videos that I have to film is like some nights I'm like, I got to get this done because I have a lot of editing and it's like a 12-hour edit day the next day. And it's like,
Totally.
I have to do it, but I don't want to do it. So sometimes like, I'll do it tomorrow. And I have to film at night because my green screen's over there and it's in front of my window. So if it's daytime, the green screen won't
It's not going to work.
it won't work. So
I totally get it. I totally get
absolutely.
it.
So it's one of those things that practice is important, and but there's some days you just want to have that lazy day that you just stay away. And I mean the weather
Completely.
affects you completely too. If it's
Oh,
raining,
yeah.
it's just one a whole thing like that.
I
It's
completely
crazy.
agree.
So do you get emotional like when you're on stage or performing in front of people when you perform your songs?
Yeah, sometimes, especially depending on the song. There was this one song that I performed a lot before quarantine. I remember the last time I performed was at the Peppermint Club, and I performed this song I wrote called Red Light, and it's just me and a guitar. And this group of people came up to me after, didn't know them, like never met them. They just happened to be at the show, and they were so emotional. They were like, thank you so much for sharing this. Like this song really resonated with me, and like I really like connect to this based on something I went through in my life. And like And that honestly made me emotional because I didn't know these people, you know, like they didn't owe anything to me, and they just came up to me and expressed their truth, and I was like, wow, like this is what music does, you know, and that's so cool.
Right.
And that made me emotional because I was like, this is why I do this. This is why it's like scary and worth
Yeah.
all the like pain sometimes.
Exactly, and sometimes the
Because
pain that
people,
you're going through, it affects other people that are going through something
yeah,
similar, and it actually brings some light to them or some comfort to them. Being like,
yeah,
"I'm going through that, but so is she. So
yeah,
that's
like at the end of the day, we're all just humans trying
yeah,
to live our best life and find
absolutely,
happiness. And yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Next one I have is so where and when and where can your single be purchased?
Yeah, so it will be on all the like streaming services on April 9th. So Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Deezer, Tidal, all the main ones on April 9th. And you can, if you have a streaming service, you can stream it for free, or purchase it on iTunes if you want. But yeah, definitely you can pre-save it as well right now. There's a link in my Instagram bio to pre-save the song now before it comes out, so that on the day of the release, it will automatically show up in your streaming service library.
Perfect. That's great. And last question I got for you. Do you have any projects, any gigs, either acting or music in the works, as well as any social media accounts or websites that you'd like to promote to the listening and viewing audience?
So after this song, there will be a music like video visual that we're releasing as well. So that will be next. And then more songs to follow. I'm really excited actually about the second song that I'm going to be releasing. It's very personal and like raw and real. So yeah, but there's a lot more music coming, and yeah, we'll see what
That's
happens with the world.
awesome. Do you want to promote your Instagram or any
Oh
other?
yeah, you can find me on all social media at Lizzy with three Y's. So Lizzyyy, small, just like the word. And that's like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all of them.
Great. I will give you a follow myself after this interview concludes. I thank you so much for joining me. Before I let you go, I just want to let everybody know that if you're watching this right now on YouTube, please give me a subscription, subscribe to my YouTube channel, give the video a like if you like what you saw, give some comments, comment and let us know what you thought of the interview. If you're listening to this on all the podcasting platforms, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Wooshka, OpenBox, Castbox, Variable Breaker, and all the other platforms out there. Please give me a rate, a comment, review, whatever you can do to help obviously Slasher Scotty grow, as well as get the word out for the single that'll be coming out as well. So thank you again, Lizzy, for joining me. It's been an honor to have you on here.
Oh, thanks so much. It was
Yep,
awesome talking to you.
yep, same thing. You have a good rest of your day and you stay safe.
You as well. Stay
Thank
safe.
you. Yep, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yep.